नहमदुहु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिल्लाह करीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम. Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Nabil. This evening I'm going to be giving a Khatera titled To Be Right or Righteous. As many of you know, you might not know in what context I wanted to bring the title in, and I got it from a hadith by Imam Tirmidhi radiallahu anhu, who narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whoever does not argue when he is in the wrong will have a home built for him in paradise, on the edge of paradise. Whoever avoids it when he is in the right will have a home built for him in the middle of paradise. And whoever improves his own character, a home will be built for him in the highest part of paradise." Now, scholars interpret this verse to mean the following: arguing with people is strongly discouraged in Islam. We are to state our point of view and then leave it at that. Nor are we to involve ourselves in matters that do not affect a person's deen. Note that a person is to shun argument whether he's in the right or whether he's in the wrong. Both get houses built for them in paradise, but since the person who knows that he is in the right finds it more difficult to leave the argument and let things be, he or she will get a greater reward. So the gist of that is that arguing is disliked in Islam, and whether you're right or wrong in that argument, you should avoid it because you will get rewarded in paradise. Now, I have 3 questions centered around this Khatera to dive in deeper into the hadith, and the first one starts off like this. So, why is it that when we argue, we find it so hard to back down? And so when I was thinking about this question, the first thing I thought about was, okay, well, as a kid, especially in elementary school or kindergarten, when we get judged by our peers, that has a lot of impact on how we grow up, right? For example, that kid with the 64 pack of crayons, or that kid who's really popular in class. If you're the one who likes Power Rangers and he doesn't, everyone's gonna judge you for that. And why does that affect us so much? Why do we feel so ill-content whenever someone does that to us, right? Well, as kids, making friends is something important to us, and so that's also a vulnerability. By shunning us growing up, that affects us emotionally and mentally as well, right? So what do we do to protect ourselves from our vulnerabilities? What do we do to protect ourselves from people seeing our weaknesses and taking advantage of it? Well, what we may do sometimes is, as a result, we put up an invisible shield known as ego. Now with ego, we can block away people's opinions and insults and criticism and not be affected by it. For example, you get into an argument with a little kid, right? Now that child, what does he often do, or not even arguing, if you're trying to tell him, you shouldn't touch knives, right? Because it's not good for you. You know better as an adult, he might hurt himself or herself. So what the kid may do is, put his hands on his ears and just say, la la la, I'm not going to listen to you. That's his way of avoiding your criticism and your insults. Even though you're in the logical manner, giving a sensible argument to him. Now, so this causes a problem, and as adults, we're not going to be doing that, right? We're more mature. But instead, what we may do is aggrandize ourselves, and we may try to make it seem as though, no, we're not going to listen to the other person. Oftentimes, what we may do when we're arguing is just block the other person's opinion and say, no, I'm right, listen to me, listen to what I have to say. We talk more than we listen. And this causes us to avoid admitting our own faults during argumentation. Because doing so, if we admit that we're wrong, what are we doing? Our ego is going down, we're humbling ourselves by saying, I'm sorry. But what does that do as a result? It allows the other person to take advantage of us, right? And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, as soon as you say, I'm sorry, for example, let's take this situation. Let's say I'm arguing with a person on what company has better clothes. I say Calvin Klein has the best line of clothing you can ever find. And then I go home and I realize I'm totally wrong. Oasis Mosque has these shirts for $10 and $15 for long sleeve, and they look so nice. And so if I come back to this brother and I apologize, I say, I'm sorry, I was totally wrong in my opinion, that was uncalled for. There's generally 2 ways he can go about it. He can accept my apology, we can make up, or he cannot accept my apology. But there's also another thing that you can add to that. So if you apologize to someone, you're admitting your faults. Therefore, that person can also criticize you and shame you for your mistake. For example, I apologize, and he comes up to me saying, yeah, how could you even think about going to Calvin Klein? You're so dumb. You should be embarrassed for yourself for even shopping there. So as soon as I apologize, I'm admitting I'm wrong. There's nothing I can do. I expose my vulnerability to him, and he can attack me all he wants, which is a very scary thing. So as Muslims, if a brother or sister comes to you apologizing for their mistake, especially after an argument, we shouldn't be the one to shame them on their mistake, because if they're coming to you apologizing, they know what they did wrong. And just rubbing salt in their wounds like that is not a good thing to do, right? It makes it even harder for them to apologize next time, and also lowers their self-esteem a lot. So, okay, let's say you got into an argument with someone, and you want to apologize, but that's very hard to do, as I said, because of the situation with lowering your invisible shield and being vulnerable to that person. It's very hard. So, what is the first step? You feel guilty, you said the wrong thing, what do? Well, Allah is Al-Rahman and Al-Rahim. He's the one who will listen to all of our du'as without shaming us for what we've done. So, before you even approach anyone else, just bring your hands up and sincerely make dua and be apologetic to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He loves it when we ask Him for what we want. He loves it when we ask Him for forgiveness. So if you can fix your relationship between yourself and your relationship between Allah as well, then inshallah you will gain the courage to be able to approach that person and ask for his or her forgiveness. Now you may be thinking, okay, yeah, but it's still hard. What if he criticizes me? What if he shames me? Well, you gotta ask yourself at that point, do I want to be right or do I want to be righteous? So this brings me to my last question. Why is this relevant? Why am I talking about arguments? Why am I talking about doing the right thing? Why am I talking about being forgiving and whatnot, right? Well, in the society that we're living in today, or rather the decade that we're living in today, the year that we're living in today, with all the political and social controversies that are going on, I mean, there's not a day I can go without going on Facebook or YouTube without a social or political controversy, right? And so it's very scary. We have to be very careful when it comes to stating our point of view. Like, stating your point of view, that's perfectly fine. You can state your stance. But if you get into an argument as a result with the other person, then you have to be very careful. Because remember, as Muslims, especially when living in America, it's often said, and I'll say it again, people judge us more by how we act than what we say. So we have to be very careful with how we act when we're arguing with someone. Or even then, like I said, it's just like to argue, so avoid that if possible. And then, oftentimes, what we may do is, even if there's a very sensitive topic that as Muslims we feel is like, it touches our heart, like how could someone else not feel the same way about this, or how could they disagree on this, or take the opposite stand of point of view. If we yell at them, that's not gonna be able to change their mind or their ideology to our side, right? As Muslims, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get people to follow our Islamic faith, our way of life, right? We're trying to spread dawah that way. But if you're yelling at them, even if it's with justified passion, your passion may be justified. Yelling it's justified rage, but it's not the right way to approach things. So we have to be very careful when we get into arguments with someone. Also, if another group or another person insults like Muslims in general, or you in general, or just insults you, it's not the right thing to do to insult them back or like demean them back, right? As Muslims, we should be the bigger people and show by example our way of life and our show of mercy. I mean, the Quran came as a mercy to mankind. Shouldn't we be preaching the Quran to the non-Muslims as well, right? So mimicking the wrong actions of others is not going to get that done. We have to be the bigger people here. So in conclusion, if anything you can get from this Khatera is this one thing, is that remember the bounties Allah has in store for those who avoid argumentation, like avoid getting into arguments. Because one day we're all going to pass away, we're all going to die. There's no doubt about that, and we're going to be judged for our deeds. And so, the next time you feel like you're about to get into an argument, just ask yourself this one question: should you be right or should you be righteous? Jazakallah khair. I'm going to end with Surah Al-Asr. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal-Asr, inna al-insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu s-salihati wa tawasaw bil-haqqi wa tawasaw bis-sabr. Thank you for coming out to my Khatera. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you took away something from it.
Couples need to apply this to their lives, everything. Just imagine, couples, we get into arguments every single day. So if you leave off the argument, just imagine how many palaces we're getting every single day.